Hey, welcome back everyone. I am Matt Larson, and until now I have stayed silent on the Michael Brown shooting down in Ferguson, Missouri. Uh, I've been waiting for more details to come out because honestly it's nothing before today and really yesterday was nothing but a bunch of he saw this, she saw this, I said that, you said that, and a lot of conflicting stories compared to what the eyewitnesses said and to actually what the police report was. What happened was on August 9th, Michael Brown and another friend of his, I believe his last name was Mr. Johnson, were later found out to actually be involved in a strong arm robbery of a convenience store. They stole like $50 worth of cigarillos, which are cigars, which really have not a lot to do with this story. How this all started after that strong arm robbery that he's allegedly involved with, according to surveillance video, was Michael Brown and another friend were walking down the middle of a road. A police officer approached them, told them to get off the street, you're jaywalking, get on the sidewalk. I guess they ignored him. They continued to do that. The police officer didn't like that response, slammed it into reverse, came up. When he opened his door, it either struck Michael Brown or Michael Brown shoved it closed. That's the two reports that, according to the eyewitness, it hit Mr. Brown. He didn't like that and he shoved it closed. Then an altercation started, basically, where Michael Brown was inside the police car through the window and a struggle pursued. Evidently, according to the police report, Michael Brown was reaching for the guy's gun, the police officer's gun. He almost had it at one point. A shot went off in the car, not hitting anyone. At this point, Mr. Brown and Mr. Johnson took off running. Police protocol is you pursue at this point, so the officer got out of his car, said freeze. At this point, according to the eyewitnesses on the scene, they said Michael Brown stopped, put up his hand and said, "Don't shoot, I don't have a gun." According to the police report, what happened was Michael Brown turned around and then rushed straight at the police officer, and it was at that point that the police officer shot 6 rounds into Michael Brown, 4 of them on his right arm, and 2 of them, one going through the eye and the other one on the top of the head. The point that is very crucial about this is the autopsy report came back today and it was released talking about how there was at least 6 bullet wounds in Michael, and according to the eyewitness reports, the officer shot him while he was running away. So that really conflicts with everything, being it entered in the front. So he was approaching the officer when he fired. The one on the top is huge though, because that really goes along with the narrative that Michael Brown was running at the officer, because when you first take off, the natural motion is for you to kind of duck down and dive, or not dive, I guess, but to kind of run at a forward motion. You don't run like this, you run like this. You have momentum. And it was at that point where he was shot and fatally wounded. Do I think that force would be justified over the stealing of cigarillos? Absolutely not. What you need to understand, though, about Michael Brown is that this is a 6'4", nearly 300-pound man with a friend who recently, according to the police report, and now I'm going strictly off the police report on what was said, that this Michael Brown reached for the gun and evidently he was going to do something with it. He's not just going for the gun to look at it and say, "Oh, nice piece, officer. I got one just like this." Whether he was going to shoot the police officer or just pistol whip him, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen, and there really is no way to know of it. So you have to look at the whole circumstance on this, and I am not trying to justify police brutality or overuse of force, because what has gone on after this shooting has been absolutely one of the biggest examples of martial law and the militarization of the police, which I do not condone whatsoever. But in this case, I do honestly think if the report comes back to be correct on how Michael Brown did reach for the officer's gun, there was a struggle that ensued because the police officer did go to the hospital after this for bruising on the face, so he was struck. And honestly, if you go up against a guy who's 6'4", 300 pounds with another friend, you don't know what can happen, and he already did go after the firearm according to the report. So honestly, in the case of this, with a guy running after you like that, I don't know if you really have time to fumble through your belt to get out the taser to stop him with that. And even if you do get the taser out and hit him, that's only going to stop one of them. You don't know. And I'm not saying that the other friend was going to run up behind him and assault the officer, but you still don't know what's going to happen. He had the firearm out, and he just happened to need to use that. It's very, 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 very rare that I would ever agree with the use of deadly force against anyone. It's very rare that that time would happen, but unfortunately this is one of those. If the police report does come back true, I think that it was justified. The after effects, though, of how law enforcement has been pointing sniper rifles, high-powered rifles, on people's chest with the red dots on them, it's complete intimidation, coming out in riot gear. I mean, look at who's actually coming out for a riot. The people just walking around with signs saying don't shoot and putting their hands up, getting down on their knees. If that's what they actually believe, I don't doubt their reasoning behind it, why they would want to go out there and protest. I'm completely behind the protesters in the thought of demilitarizing the police, because it's not what they're meant to do. They're meant to serve and protect, not to basically be war barons and go out there and just be mercenaries and kill people and to intimidate people. They work for us, and they need to understand that. And I hope that any good legislators out there come together and defund all of these militarizations of all the police forces, because they've spent over $500 billion on militarizing the police forces in the past few years. That's insane. Do you know what that money could go towards? That could be going towards paying down the national debt, to providing better health care for everyone in the United States. There's many other things that that $500 billion could be used towards. So I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. It's really two sides of a coin on this. If it comes back to where there is evidence that shows Michael Brown was killed in cold blood, I definitely agree with all the protesters out there, and I still agree with them to some degree on wanting to make sure that this does not happen again, and we start realizing that the police are there for one thing, and that's to protect and serve, not to intimidate. Unfortunately, the evidence also came back that he had marijuana in his blood. Is marijuana going to make you want to go and chase the cops? No, marijuana, if anything, is more something that'll make you want to sit on your couch and not want to go out and get in trouble. It's not one of those drugs like meth, coke, all these other things that are really uppers. Marijuana is more of a downer. I really don't think that marijuana should be used as an excuse for, oh, this guy's a thug because he smoked pot. There's a lot of good people that smoke pot. That doesn't mean they're a thug. That just means that, you know what, they like to participate in smoking marijuana, which is a natural occurring plant. So I want to know what your guys' thoughts are, and if I missed anything, please fill me in. I'm humbled by all this. It's really hard to talk about a story like this when you really don't know all the answers. You try to look at the bits and pieces of information that's out there, but it seems like something new comes out every single day. So if I'm missing something that you guys know about, please include that down in the comment section down below. But for now, I ask that you guys please thumbs up this video, share it with friends and family. If you're new to my videos, I ask that you please click that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all the current political news. As always, I'm Matt Larson. Go Ron Paul. Peace.